Are you a first responder, a veteran, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, or a Let's Go Blues radio listener? Of course you are. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call real estate superstar Mike Burgoyne today at 314-753-4060 or email him at mike@strikewithmike.com to earn special rates today.
All right, let's get out of here. And find something good.
Does the moon actually possess such strange powers? Or is it all just lunacy?
Nah.
I'm sorry I went to Mars for a second, but I'm back now and I got t-shirts for everybody.
Good, but no.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2
Nope.
and 3 and...
Get ready to hear some noise tonight!
Absolutely not.
Too late.
Oh, yeah.
Eat this.
Let's do this. Mike, do you have any clue who Carl Lindbaum is?
That one, that was a little surprising. I unfortunately don't, but it made me chuckle here. A lot of, the guy Kurt Wright, though.
So he's a prospect for, who is it, Bill?
Vancouver.
He's a prospect, and
I believe Vancouver.
we one time just at the end of the show, Bill was like, "Hey, we got a goalie goal in the Swedish Elite League or whatever league it was," and we're like, "What's his name?" Carl Lindbaum, and we're like, Carl Lindbaum, and then somehow that transformed into he has a product called Carl Lindbaum's Car Lip Balm. So
that's hilarious.
That is an AI voice that is not actually him. I should probably point that out every episode, but I thought that'd be a fun open. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 35 of season 14. This is episode number 516, all time of the often imitated, never duplicated. Skip it, skipping and a screaming and a boo shoo bop. The very best thing of all is there's a counter on this ball. We're the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast. Let's Go Blues Radio. Tell me you guys remember that jingle.
No.
No? You don't remember Skip It?
No.
Oh.
No.
All right. Well, I'm an idiot. Hopefully someone in the audience does.
I was an adult by that time.
That's true. I was not. I'm still not an adult. It's Thursday, July 3rd. We're streaming live to the masses. Make sure to follow us on socials at LGB Radio and like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, and yes, even Twitch. I'm your host, Jeff Ponder, and I'm joined by Jake Allen fanboy Bill Day and special guest, a Justin Carbonneau expert, Mike Meyer. We'll get to Mike in a minute. The agenda for tonight includes the draft, free agency, waivers, players leaving, players coming in, and more on this bold and brave installment of Let's Go Blues Radio. So as I just mentioned, and as you heard in the banter in the open, if you're listening to the podcast, we have Mike Meyer with us, a friend of the show. You've been on, what, 1, 2, 3 times so far?
Something like that. Yeah, I think 2 times here already. So I think tonight's the 3rd time.
So Bill, get his third-time member jacket ready. We'll be sure to give that to you next time we see you. And
jacket,
Mike,
green jacket.
Who gives a shit?
Clown jersey jacket.
Oh, I do have that. I own that.
Yes, you do. They were on clearance when I was in SEL Athletics last week. So.
Yep, they were at the Blues garage sale, and I got it for $50, and they're normally I think $180. So I was like, okay, I can deal with that.
Gotta do that.
Yep. Mike, so again, we've had you on before. You obviously know Blues stuff pretty well. You are all over podcasts now. I've heard you on a couple different ones, but mostly people are obviously going to be interested in your coverage of the St. Louis Blues. Where can they find your work? Where can they find anything related to Mike Meyer?
So my main stuff you can be able to find over here at STL Sports Central with just a ragtag group of guys. You may have heard of a couple of them: Randy Carricker, Brooke Grimsley, Bernie Michaelis. The list here goes on and on and on and on. I'm just,
so like D celebrities for St. Louis,
celebs,
right?
D celebs. Yep. I mean, you may have heard of them. I don't know, but I am just truly humbled to be just amongst the list here of these folks and individuals. So that's where you can be able to find most of my main stuff covering the Blues. If you're interested here in my podcast or my prospect coverage, you can be able to find that over on Substack over at Blue Notes Rising, where I exclusively cover the prospects here in depth and detail here over there.
Okay, and how can they interact with you on social media?
Twitter's the main one here that I'm on here almost all too often. So at M_Meyer3, here's where you can end up following me, looking over here, different video clips, and just my horrible takes here on all things Blues hockey.
I'll tell you as a follower, they are terrible takes. So
Yeah.
fans, definitely tune in for that. But not as awful as Bill Day's take, which you can find over at Billy Blue Note on Blue Sky. Bill, have you been, sir? Have you been enjoying Free Agent Frenzy?
Yeah. I got to watch it. Thank you, ESPN, for streaming the TSN stuff. Got to watch it while working on Tuesday. That was beautiful. Little Canada Day celebration in there as well. So it was good. After the first couple hours, though, tune it out because they are trying to fill content, and it gets pretty bad. But I did stick around to see the retirement of Bob McKenzie. So
that was a highlight of the day because for me, and they were even saying it like, okay, there's nothing going on, and so like being able to like see Bob McKenzie one more time and see his kind of final moments on TSN. That was really cool. And I did see a nice article written on him. I think it was in The Athletic, about how basically he's like the first one to really turn just like writing, your basic newspaper type coverage and turn that into a TV career for hockey. So I thought about that. I'm like, that's probably true. So a legend. So Bob McKenzie, if some reason this gets in your earwaves, just know that Let's Go Blues Radio, we cheers one to you, sir, because very, very good at what he did. Very good at his craft.
Yeah. He's, to this day, I still get an email from TSN every day because that used to be, I would read nothing but TSN articles and look for his content all the time, way back when, before Twitter was a thing. So
yeah, but you were also reading like BluesNet back then, right? And like doyoubleedblue.com, like, right. And of course let's go blues.com.
Yeah. What was the pre Reddit message boards, pre let's go blues.com and all that, the alt-blues and stuff like that.
Something like that. Yeah. What was the Postnet was STL Today too, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Where the asylum was born.
Yep. Oh man, we are really aging ourselves here. Mike, I don't even know how old you are. Would you like to tell us or should we guess?
Oh, I'm almost afraid here if you guys guess. We'll play the game. We'll see who gets closer here at that point. So whoever
I'm gonna say 30.
Okay.
Bill?
I'm gonna go 36.
Ooh, in between here. What year is it? It's 25, so 35.
You had to think.
I did have to think.
Closest without going over. I win.
Right. Price is Right rules.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff wins.
I always win. That's the way it works on this show. Okay, so you're 35, so you're just below us. I'm 40. Bill's 76.
No, that's Kurt.
Oh, that's right.
72.
I'm sorry. You're 72. That's right. And so you're 35. So you're right behind us. That I get why you didn't understand the skip it joke earlier. So that makes total sense.
It just like this that came out, I think, just before my time. So
sorry, folks. We will get to hockey talk, I promise. But Mike, I have to ask though, Pokemon, was that big for you?
Oh yeah, that was like the first big craze.
That's what I always say is that I literally just missed out on that.
Yeah.
Like I know 39-year-olds who are like, "Oh yeah, I loved Pokemon," and I'm like, that just missed me. So yeah, that makes sense that you loved Pokemon.
Yep.
That's probably the last big kid thing, or I guess the first big kid thing that I did not get involved in.
Yeah, yeah. It was fun to be able to get into, but it was like you look back at it and you're like, why? I don't get it. Even just like looking
Mhm.
back here at it. But yeah, it
Yep.
was fun.
Yep. And Bill, you were big into the ball in the cup. That was your thing.
Beer pong?
That too. Yes. Yes, I was definitely into that.
Yeah, no, I am old enough that I remember I wasn't involved with it, wasn't my thing, but Cabbage Patch Kids. That was really
Okay.
that was kind of the first huge craze. And that was I remember my neighbor's sister got like 4 of them for her birthday one year, and she was like the richest girl on the planet. But yeah, the stuff was nuts.
So I think the way the time frame works for all of us is Cabbage Patch Kids to Pogs to Pokemon. Would that make
Mhm.
sense? I think that's
Yeah.
where we're at.
I think
Yeah,
the
'cause-
big question is whether or not that Bill had a pet rock.
Ooh,
No.
good question. No.
No.
That's actually all the show is going to be is we're just going to quiz each other about like what we knew as kids.
He made $1 million.
Off of
All right,
rocks.
let's
Off of
move
rocks.
on. People are in the chat like they're all talking hockey and we're sitting here
Right.
being bums.
Right.
Um,
So far I've seen Jake Neighbors has been traded, Jordan Kyre's been traded. We really want Byram, don't we?
Yes,
Seems
Bowen
to be the
Byram's coming
chat.
up. We will talk about all this, folks, coming up. First of all, we have a couple announcements. First of all, Bill has not gotten his yet, but I am wearing the new Let's Go Blues Radio jersey. So there we go. Modeling it off right now. Sorry, podcast audience. But my favorite part, honestly, is the numbers. So I got to show the numbers.
Oh yeah. Those are sweet.
Looks good. Now how do I get myself one of those?
Oh, well, it is very simple, sir. Nice tee up. Thank you.
Hey,
You get one of those is you reach out to me however way you want. If you have my number, obviously Mike does. You can text me, email me, jponder94@gmail.com. Go with me on social media. However, you can get in touch with me. There are so many ways, folks. I will hook you up. It is $45 for one of these sweet jerseys. It's well worth the investment. The money goes directly back into the show and of course, obviously to the jersey manufacturers. But yeah, if you are interested, please reach out to me. That is $45 and it'll be, I like Venmo. We can do PayPal. If you're in St. Louis, we could meet up, whatever works. I'm not picky. Money's money to me. So there you go, Mike. Thank you. Because I did not pay you to see that. By the way, I have $20 for you later.
Thanks, Mike.
And of course, I mentioned already that we have a good guest here in Mike Myers. Mike Meyer. I almost said Mike Myers. That's not you.
It works.
You're only one Meyer. Speaking of Mike, I did want to give a quick shout out. So last night at the Mead Hall in St. Charles, which is for those that know St. Charles, formerly was the Two Plumbers location, which has since moved. I was out there last night and I got to know the owner, Mike. So Mike, I just wanted to give you a quick shout out. If you've not been out to the Mead Hall, and mead as in the alcohol, check it out. They've got some great stuff. It was my niece's 21st birthday and she got hammered. So that was fun to watch. She loved this mead called Valhalla. Apparently it's very sweet and orangey and tangy. So anyway, if you ever are in the St. Charles area, if you live in the St. Charles area, check out the Mead Hall. Very nice spot out there in St. Charles, right off 70 and 94. All right, well, let's get into speaking of alcohol, our official beers of episode number 516. You can follow each of us on the Untapped app. You can find me at jponder94, Kurt's at cprice12, Bill is at Billy Blue Note 33. I'm actually going to defer to our guest, Mr. Mike Meyer. What are you sipping on tonight, sir?
I'm sipping on that good old H2O. I've
Good
had
call.
the week off, and it's just purely about spending some time outside here with my kiddos. And so this evening it is about rehydration. So
Great call. Yeah, outside it's pretty rough, so I don't blame you. Bill, I think you're doing the exact same thing, correct?
I am taking it up a level and going with electrolytes, and it's Gatorade for me tonight because ran this morning, cut the grass this afternoon, and I'm just completely spent. So total rehydration.
I get that. Well, I guess I am drinking alone, folks, tonight out of my sweet Slimer glass. I am drinking a little bit of my favorite summer beer. Bill might have even had one of these after he mowed the lawn. Schlafly Summer Lager. Love this stuff. This is, to me, the best summer beer there is. Summer Shandy from Leinenkugel's great, but give me Summer Lager from Schlafly all day long. Did you hear, Bill, by the way, the good news from Urban Chestnut?
That they have acquired the rights to O'Fallon Brewing and will be producing the O'Fallon brews again.
Yes, and they have already said that the pumpkin ale will return.
Yep.
And those that remember me or remember those times, we were always talking about how the pumpkin ale from O'Fallon was fantastic. So I missed it last year. Apparently, we will get it back this year. So I am very happy about that.
It'll probably be on the shelves in a month.
Yeah. It
Pumpkin
does start
starts
showing
coming
up
out
in August. Ugh. And with how late I felt like summer really kicked off this year, I feel like it's going to be hot up until November 1st. So it's going to be weird drinking pumpkin beer in 95-degree weather.
Yeah.
Welcome to St. Louis. Are you new, Jeff?
Yeah.
Are you new to the
I
St. Louis
am.
area?
I've never been here before. This is a fantastic city. I love it. We've got Baked Beaver says, never alone, PBR as usual. Heck yeah, sir. Rodney Hale says he's got Bush Apple, and he's saying Bush Apple is the best summer beer. I've never had the apple. I've had the peach, and I'll say I was not a fan. A lot of my friends are.
I think I had both of those years ago at a golf tournament, and just because it was a golf tournament in St. Louis and it was all AB product, so wasn't going to go out and buy any after my experience with them.
Interesting question from Cape Core 72, which I don't know if we've ever heard from in the live chats. This might be a new live listener. He says, what is Big Walt's beer coming back? I have no idea. That would be awesome. I would love it. Because that actually was a pretty good beer. That was a lager, wasn't it? I think it was. Who knows?
Yeah.
Somebody ask Keith Kachuk.
It really should be a stout, though, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Shit, maybe a doppelbox. Loaded up with protein, baby. All right, let's get into some hockey talk, shall we? So the first big thing we'll mention is the Blues, and it's weird to say that this has been within the past week, but the Blues have re-signed Joel Hofer to a 2-year, $6.8 million contract extension. That is a $3.4 million cap hit. Last season, 16-8-3 with a .904 save percentage and a 2.64 GAA. I saw this coming, and I think Armstrong even said, because this happened around draft time, I think he even said before the draft that, Hofer's not going anywhere. And I thought they're going to get a deal done because, the talk in Edmonton was, let's offer Sheet Hofer. And it's that's just, even if they did, the Blues would match. They had the cap room. I don't think Edmonton would have had the cap room to do something like that. So, yeah, I knew this was coming. Happy to see it get done before the free agency hit. But what are your guys' thoughts on the deal?
Yeah, I think it's a really good, kind of nice little bridge deal to, get him to the point where he's going to get the starter money when this is over. He's been consistent in his backup role, or his 1B role, I should say. And, within 2 years, he should be challenging for that, for the number one job full time. Let's see what happens injury wise with Binnington. But if Binnington goes down, I'm comfortable with this guy in net for a long period of time. So I think it's a really smart deal. And yeah, definitely, Armstrong was going to get his business done and, not be sniped on an offer sheet.
Yeah, and I'll say that, and Mike, obviously I want your opinion too, but for me, it's I look at, because now it's his deal ends when Binnington's deal ends, and it kind of is like almost a race to the finish line for the goalies. Like, okay, Binnington, if you can still prove you've got it in 2 years, we'll probably re-sign you at least another 1 or 2 year contract. But for me, I think it's more, all right, Joel, you've got 2 years to prove you can take over the starting role. At that point, maybe they still hold on to Binnington, but admit, hey, this is Hofer's crease now. So it's kind of interesting to see that both those contracts are going to end at the same time. What would really suck is if they were both like outstanding, like best goalies in the NHL. Then you got them both coming to free agency in the same year. But I think Armstrong and Steen have a good plan here. But Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I think like as you guys said, I mean Armstrong basically said, but to paraphrase here, I think it was Mosaic, you can pry him from my cold dead fingers, is when you're going to have Joel Hofer. But yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see because it's going to, like you said, line up here perfectly. And if you look here at it, it actually also lines up here with Colton Ellis down here in the AHL. So all three netminders who could be competing for the NHL jobs all line up and are going to be going here to the end of their contracts here in 2 seasons. So I'm not as convinced about Bennington here right now. I think this coming season that you're going to see more of a 50-50 split, maybe like a 55-45. Bennington 2 seasons ago, he was only down to an 894 save percentage. Brought it back up to 913 here last season, and then 2 years ago, and then in 24-25 was back down to a 900. So I don't know what's going to be in store for the Stanley Cup winner. If he is kind of lingering around that 900, and you start to really see more and more progression here come along from Joel Hofer, and Colton Ellis just continues just to bang down the door, do you just say, hey, look, man, I'm sorry, but like we've got 2 very, very valuable guys who are a little more cost controlled, or do you just say, hey, thanks so much, and we're just going to continue to go along and just ride our guy, who wants the Stanley Cup, and he's just not leaving until he hangs him up. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how Armstrong and Steen manages here moving forward. But I think it's a beautiful, beautiful situation here for us to be able to have opportunities here in the crease.
Yeah, I think it's important to note too that when that deal does end, that Hofer will still have 1 more year of RFA eligibility. So at that point, we're still talking about them negotiating, well before free agency hits, and once it happens, they can continue those talks. He's not going anywhere else unless he signs an offer sheet. So that's important to note. But yeah, I love it, and I want to get to a couple. We're not going to really dive into these yet, guys, because we've got so much to go over, but we do have a couple comments that have come through that I wanted to go ahead and acknowledge because they're coming in quick and hot. So first of all, we'll say Matt MLO12 says, I like Mailloux more than Byram, honestly. Still have Lindstein and Juracek coming up too. That's a great call. Although he does also add Byram isn't that impressive. We'll talk more about Byram later. I do think the three of us will disagree with that. If you, let's see. Oh my goodness, there are so many. Bill, any stand out to you?
Too many. There's been a lot of hate on Mailloux. I think we will cover that when we get to that section of the show.
We will.
But yeah, before we move on from the Hofer talk, I did want to say I agree with Mike in terms of Hofer's expected starts. I think we totally see it getting closer to even. I think Binnington will, I think 55-45 is probably a really good split for them this year. Again, depending on what the injuries are. But Binnington has to have a bounce back year. His saves above average plummeted last year. He was so good in 24, 23-24 and terrible last year. So he's got to have a bounce back. And if he doesn't, and if the Blues are, floundering towards the trade deadline, this could be the year he gets moved.
It was Joel Hofer who arguably was the backstop here who helped propel them into the playoffs. As much as people don't want to remember that, everybody was saying, okay, you have to be able to move on and just go here with Hofer here the rest of the time. And if that wasn't the case, you could have potentially have seen Jordan Binnington's name floated out there at the trade deadline here as well.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, I'll get one more comment in, and then we're going to take our break, and we will come back. But yeah, just have to call this one out. Matt MLO 12 again. No matter what Army does, seeing Ponder makes me sing. Every morning, there's a halo hanging from the corner of my girlfriend's 4-post bed, which is a Sugar Ray song. So thank you for that, Matt. Yes, I do still have the stupid blonde hair, but don't you worry, kids. It's going away soon. This was how I celebrated 40, by the way, Mike Meyer. I went ahead and just said, you know what, get the midlife crisis out of the way.
I love it.
Right.
I love it. And if there's going to be any Sugar Ray references here, I mean, let's just keep them going. I think you should just keep it. I think it looks
Forever.
great. Just keep it, just forever. Rock it when you're 70.
There you go. I love it. Let's do it.
Well, dirty little secret: if you buy one of those jerseys, that's where the proceeds go to the frosted tip.
The Jeff Ponder Frosted Tip Foundation. Yep, that's where it's all going. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break here, everybody, so we can get paid. But you are listening to Jeff, Bill, and Mike, and we'll be back with some more blues talk in a little bit. Don't go anywhere.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
As a hockey player, Mike Burgoyne knows a thing or two about making the perfect play. And when it comes to real estate, he's always ready to score the winning goal for his clients. If you're a first responder, a veteran, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, or a Let's Go Blues radio listener looking to score the home of your dreams, you'll receive special rates with Mike. Go ahead, shoot some questions his way, and he'll have the answer quicker than Curtis Joseph on a breakaway.
Curtis Joseph got the pedal down.
Any barriers? Mike will mow them down like Chris Pronger in front of the net. He'll score you your dream home or sell your existing home faster than a Brett Hall one-timer.
Look past the Hall. He shoots. He scores.
See Burgoyne's real estate prowess in action today by emailing him at mike@strikewithmike.com or by calling 314-753-4060. That email again is mike@strikewithmike.com, and that phone number is 314-753-4060. Getting Mike Burgoyne on your team will be the boost your power play needs.
Attention pickleball players. 6-0 Pickleball is an industry leader in high-end pickleball paddles. From the Paddle of the Year Double Black Diamond to the Kevlar-faced Ruby paddles, 6-0 has the perfect paddle to take your game to the next level. And while I have your attention, consider upgrading your pickleball bag to the highly touted Pro Tour bag or the Performance Backpack in some fantastic colors. 6-0 is also your place to stock up on paddle grips and edge guards. 6-0 has everything you need to elevate your game. And as long as you're playing well, you might as well look good too with 6-0's performance shirts, hats, and arm sleeves. Use discount code CPRICE10 for 10% off your entire purchase at 60pickleball.com. That's CPRICE10. Don't you dare get stuck on the court with inferior equipment. Go next level with 6-0.
We already know that you love hockey, and you obviously already love the Let's Go Blues radio podcast, but what about filling the gap between weekly Let's Go Blues radio episodes? That's where the LGB Minute comes in. Hosted by Jeff Ponder, the LGB Minute is an entertaining, down and dirty 5-minute St. Louis Blues podcast released multiple times a week to keep you informed of all things St. Louis Blues. So make sure to subscribe to the LGB Minute anywhere you listen to podcasts. Like right now. Do it now. Just click subscribe. It's easy. For the love of God, please.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
Yeah, okay. Literally spent the entire break reading the chat. And at one point, somebody said, Jeff, you're not going to catch up. And I instantly was like, yep, this person's 100% correct. There's a lot of talk going on, which is great. Keep it coming. A lot of talk of the trade, which we will get to. But yeah, there's a lot of heavy opinions on that trade, which shocker. And hey, how about this? The fact that this chat is going off the hinges right now, and it is 10:07 on July 3rd, and we're a hockey podcast. How about that, St. Louis? Be proud of yourselves, especially you, Mike. You pat yourself on the back right now. It's because you're here. That's why.
Yeah, that's the reason why. It has nothing to do with anything else that's going on in the hockey world right now.
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay, actually, this is the first thing I have on the docket. I forgot. The Blues acquired, and Bill, I want to make sure I am saying this correctly, Logan Mailloux, correct?
Correct.
All right. Blues acquired Logan Mailloux in a trade with the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for Yes, folks, Zack Bolduc. For those wondering about Mailloux, he is 22, split last season between the Canadiens and their AHL affiliate, the Rocket. He is apparently 6'3" is what he's listed, but Doug Armstrong called him 6'5", so maybe that's with skates on. I don't know. Who knows? He's also 213 pounds, so he is a big boy and he can skate. But yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about here. Obviously, a up and comer going the other way. But again, somebody in the chat brought up another comment from Armstrong was quote apple for an apple. So basically, it's like this guy is great that we traded, but we're also probably getting somebody back who's great. So. Mike, I don't know if you know, but Bill, his second favorite team, grew up a huge Patrick Waugh fan. Montreal Canadiens is also a big Steve Bégin fan. I don't know why that's the first name that came to place. He played in Montreal, right?
He played in Montreal, but also Boston. So no, no, not one of my guys.
So Bill, I mean, I don't know how much you knew. I mean, obviously, we can talk about the stuff that happened prior to the draft a couple of years ago with him, but
right.
I'm not sure how much you know of his play style and anything you've seen or heard from Montreal Brass. But what are your thoughts?
No, just he was getting the Dobson trade, right? The before the draft, the rumors, before Kyrie's extension kicked in, the rumors were, Dobson's on the market. The Blues are going to try to get him, and it's going to cost them Kyrou. But Montreal went in with their 2 number 1 picks and pried him out. There's another up and coming defenseman that I'm going to butcher it. It's like Reinfelder, something like Reinbacher. That pushed Mailloux down the depth chart last year. And so with Dobson coming in, going to fill that role, that he was available. I only got to see his sample size is so small, 8 games. But I did catch one of his games when he scored last year, and he looks like an NHL ready guy. Obviously that didn't crack the lineup enough last year. But he's coming into a new organization, and is, filling a need. Right. And that was the whole reason why, where we gave up, one of my favorite players on the Blues, Zack Bolduc, need trade from a position of strength for a need. Right.
Yep.
So
so overall, are you happy? Are you like, let's wait and see? How are you feeling about it?
I think if he meets his potential, it's going to be just a good hockey trade for both teams, right? I could also see, Bolduc having, the pressure of being a francophone player in the Montreal market. That doesn't always go so great, but he seemed to have enough swagger that I think he can withstand it. But and he's not going to be expected to be a top line guy there, so I think it's a good situation for both. Obviously, like when the trade happened, I'm like, yeah, I think I messaged you guys, fuck, they traded Bolduc. And then as I kind of got to understand it more, I'm like, yeah, at the end of the day, I think this is a good trade. Right.
Yeah, I think the first thing that came out was that Elliot Friedman that was like hearing Bolduc is out of St. Louis or something like that, and it was like, oh shit. But like you, I saw the return. I remember like reading a bunch about this kid at the draft, and again for obvious reasons, which we'll talk about, but also that he is a good prospect and a good hockey player. So, and from what I've heard, all things considered, he's matured, I believe is how they say it in Canada. And just, has owned up to his mistakes. But again, we'll get to that. Mike, I want to know your initial thoughts, how you found out, and what your thoughts are on the trade.
Well, it would have happened about 4 minutes after I left my house to head to development camp.
Of course.
I got the notification. I'm like, crap. Okay, it would happen right now. This was a tough pill to swallow because I think, like Bill said, he was one of the better up and coming players after a strong second half of the season, and unfortunately, he just didn't really pan out too well here in the postseason. But this was a guy I think everybody had pinned as a huge breakout candidate here for next season, but. They desperately needed that injection here on the defense, and especially on the right side, somebody who could be able to complement Broberg. And whether this happens this season or next, they should absolutely get that here in Logan Mailloux. Army, I believe, has had this guy. I mean, based on all of his comments, has looked at this guy since that draft year. And I believe, unless it was for his comments that says, please do not draft me, the Blues would have drafted Logan Mailloux since he fell to them. But, I mean, again, this was a guy who was originally slated to become a top 3, top 5 pick in that respective draft class. So it's not like it's a consolation prize that we got Zack Bolduc that year. That's an amazing pickup, but Logan Mailloux is slated and projected, because that's all you can say here at this point, to become one of those bona fide premier right shot defenseman who can be able to not just put the puck in the back of the net, who can be able to distribute the puck here, to some of his playmakers, but also be able to just run the guy over. So I think fans, again, if he leads and grows here to the status that he should become, this is, I think, going to be a guy who turns into a huge fan favorite.
Yeah, and I think, him being a big guy, he plays like a big guy. He's a good skater, good with the puck. Lot of positives, and I did see somebody when I don't think it was when he was drafted. It might have been last year. I think he was kind of in trade discussions, and I saw somebody say he's a mini Parayko, and I'm like, ooh, if that's true, and it's Parayko now, not Parayko of 4 years ago. That is an excellent pickup for the St. Louis Blues, if you ask me.
You'll get a little bit more if it's going to be a Parayko, like a mini Parayko. I think you're going to get a Parayko version that some people wanted, where he's actually going to use his body in that physical sense here, like on the ice. So I could see that, though. I can see that. It's a good comp.
Yep, we'll see. And I'll say, I'm with you guys. Like, and there's, again, lots of talk here in the chat about, the Blues and the playoffs. And somebody said, Bolduc kind of looked lost at times, I think. And I don't know if I really believe that. He is a rookie. We complained last week, Bill, about Jordan Kyrou kind of disappearing in the playoffs. And that's why we could kind of see him. I don't want to say disappearing. He was still putting up points, but was shying away from contact is kind of more what we were talking about, playing a little soft. And I didn't see any of that from Bolduc. I actually thought he was fine. I think he was one of the more stronger, consistent players for the Blues in the playoffs. Again, like Bill said, you have to give to get. The Blues have a gluttony of up and coming wingers, and right now, you're outside of Kyrou, probably your biggest trade chip on the wing was Bolduc. So if you want to get somebody and hopefully replace one of the stiffs that was playing right-handed defense on the Blues, left-handed defense on the Blues, you had to pull the trigger. And I do think that the Blues did this not only because they were like, we've got a gluttony of forwards, let's go get someone good. Like one of you said, I think this is a player that Doug Armstrong has had his eye on for a very long time. And I think when this became a possibility, it was, okay, I've got Dvorsky coming up. We've got plenty of guys that are going to be coming over from Sweden in the next couple of years. Kyrou is locked in with a no trade clause. All these different names that we've talked about over the years. It's time for them to start making that jump, as Bolduc did. And I think Armstrong knows, especially as some signings we'll talk about here in a minute, this team is still going to look pretty good offensively if they continue to flourish.
Yeah, I really think that Snuggerud's emergence, like the fact that he clicked so quickly here, was what made Bolduc tradable, right? If Snuggerud came in and couldn't play a defensive game, was, creating turnovers in the playoffs, getting benched, you don't make this trade. But Snuggerud looked like a true blue chipper that is going to stick here out of the gate next year. And yeah, there was depth, there was strength there. And going back to the comments about Bolduc being solid in the playoffs, Doug Paddock had a great quote. Don't really blame Bolduc's postseason performance. He had to carry Sundquist's corpse and either Texier or Joseph all playoff log. Right. So yeah, it's tough. He was put in a bad situation. What if we would have been able to acquire Pius Suter for, the playoff run and put him, get an actual playmaker or somebody with talent rather than, guy who's all grit at this point in Sundquist.
Do you mean Pius Suter? Sorry, I had to piss Bill off everybody. We'll get onto that one in a little bit. Yes, couple of comments here. Divide by Zero, our friend, is not very happy with this trade. He says, basically, if you can't get equal value, at least for your assets, you don't make the trade. It's that simple. We overpaid. That is the problem. And again, judging off Divide by Zero's other comments in the chat, he is not a fan and thinks that the Blues way overpaid for Mailloux. He is getting some disagreement. Our friend Madame 12 says we're most likely underpaid. And then Divide by Zero retorts, you're fooling yourself, Matt. The Habs fans are jubilant on their boards. Is that true, Mr. Bill Day? Are the Habs fans losing their shit?
I haven't looked, but I would say that there's probably a loud francophone contingent, because even though Mailloux is a French name, he's not French Canadian. He played for the London Knights, right? His junior team was London. So I think that you're gonna get that loud contingent of francophone fans that are, we're bringing in a stud from the queue, and he's going to be a difference maker here. And we got rid of the guy that we should never have drafted. And I think that was also part of the issue, right? Is it was a little bit of a scandal when Montreal drafted Mailloux, right? And Trudeau came out. The Prime Minister came out and said, I can't believe my team did this. And so he's carried that baggage there. But, again, he's 17 years old, made a dumb mistake. Sure, it happens all the time to people who aren't, going to be professional athletes. And it was
real quick,
terrible thing.
The details are out there. So I'm not going to get into details about what he did. But we'll say he did share some risque photos of a lady friend with, I believe it was teammates. And so that's the big thing. There's more to it, but that's like the big thing. So for me, yes, don't be a fucking idiot. I'll say this, and hopefully he doesn't hear that I told this story. My nephew did something recently that is very similar to this. And I mean, the first thought in my head because he was the one that told me, and nobody else, no other parents were around or anything. So he's literally the one that told me about it. First thing out of my mind is, you fucking dumbass. I said that to his face, and I'm like, wait, you're 14. I should probably rephrase, but like, it's stupid.
It's 14. You should probably like amp it up a little bit.
Yeah, right. Like, and it's just, it's just, that's instant reaction. But like, and Bill, I think you said it, like, he even said, don't draft me. I basically need to grow up. And I think that's admirable because, at 18 and you're playing for London, you're a player at his magnitude. Okay, hopefully we can just sweep this under the rug and I can just get drafted and we can all forget about it. No, he owned up to it. And I prefer that. And I also want to say, and I know that there are people who would disagree with me on this, but it's the same thing as the Jordan Binnington tweets from when he was drafted. To me, they were kids. We all did dumb shit when we were kids. And I know that's not exactly the best way to say this, but it's true. I know I did shit that if it came out now, oh my Lord, like you guys wouldn't want me on the show anymore. But it's just, that's how it is. And I will say that they have, again, same with Bennington. He is growing up. We haven't heard of any other incidents, nothing else crazy happening. I do believe that this was a teaching lesson for him, and he has learned from it. And if he does it again, yeah, fool me once, right? Like, fool me once, shame on me. No, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Like, did I say that right?
You almost did the George W. Bush.
But anyway, that's just how I feel. And I think that's in his past. Yes, you're still going to have people bring it up. Blues are going to the playoffs in game 1, and someone's going to tweet out, hey, remember when Logan Mailloux did this? Yes, that's still going to happen. But at the same time, I appreciate he's a young man that has already instantly fessed up to his mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he showed a lot of character by trying to opt out of the draft. And, he's 5 years older. He's 22 now. And yeah, I would be shocked if something more happened. So he can hopefully at this point just focus on on being a St. Louis Blue.
I'm hoping here too, like if there's any of the other younger prospects who are that he's around, or anybody else that he can be able to shine a light here into their lives and say, guys, like, don't do this. Here's how to be able to act. Here's how to do this. And and hopefully it's not a here's how to skirt around this. Still be able to do that. But hopefully he can be that kind of, again, like that rod that just says, hey, like, lean this way, and don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, he can, and it sounds like he wants to be that guy too, right? He wants to be a leader, and that to not shy away from the questions, on the presser after the trade, or that he's doing an interview from his couch. I thought that was great. So
yep. And yeah, we've got, again, comments rolling in. I can't read them all. Chris Ziegler did give us the good George W. quote in there, so thank you for that. Mike M in the chat says he's on a short leash in St. Louis, and I'll expand that and say he's on a short leash in the NHL. I think if he does this again, or something, even really anything bad, the NHL might even step in and say, kid, we need you to step away from the game for a while. Like, this would be a league-wide issue. I mean, again, look at Anthony D'Angelo. For a while, it was like, this guy's still pretty solid, but he's just a dickhead. And now, I mean, he is officially back in the NHL now, but it did take some time for that to happen.
Yeah. And with what's going on with, the Hockey Canada trial, as it's called, right? You've got 4 or 5 guys that can't play in the NHL because their conduct was more egregious than this, right?
Yeah.
There's a consent issue here, but it's not the same kind of consent issue. And, it's, maybe for another show, but I would be shocked if Edmonton doesn't sign Carter Hart.
Oh, I 100%
when the trial's over. And I think that's disgusting. But we'll see. We'll see what happens when all is said and done.
I'm trying to find I was tweeted from somebody who's a Rockets fan. And I'm
the Rocket de Laval.
Yeah. So his junior team, and I cannot find it. But yeah, she said something about, and she was a kid. She was like 19. I say kid. I guess that is an adult still. But she even said, like, this was a community member. Like, this guy, like, people loved him. He was like always showing up for things, and he, clearly is trying to put that in his past. And I'm just like, that's what I want to hear. Like, hearing it from a fan of a team that he was on when this happened, basically, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So, Anyway, and then we got Matt in the chat again. His interviews and stuff I've heard. He's a great kid, community kind of guy, but more importantly, a great defenseman. Yeah, that's what I think. And maybe we're just preaching to the choir here because it seems like everybody in the chat agrees, and maybe all the podcasters will too. But it's just for me, it's like let the kid, every kid at 18 deserves a second chance. Okay, maybe not every, but most kids. And I'm, again, from what we've seen in the last 4 years, he has fessed up and he has tried to make up for what he did.
Right.
Anyway, yep. So contract signings. So July 1st hit. Okay, Matt, you might have. Hey, let me ask you guys real quick. Can you hear this? Hang on. Yeah, can you hear this? Bolshevik. This is Bolshevik. No? Yes? Okay, I can't. Apparently I can do sound effects now. So look out for that for future shows. What did I even say? I don't even know.
Bolshevik.
Oh,
Bolshevik.
I recorded like 8 different ones. I forgot which one I kept. All right. Contract signings. The Blues have signed Nick Bjugstad. This was their first big signing of the day to a 2-year, $3.5 million contract extension. That is $1.75 million AAV. For me, again, well, okay, we're going to talk a little bit in a minute about Radek Faksa. But, clearly this meant to me, Faksa's out. We could not reach an agreement. From all indications were that they were trying to reach something, but they just couldn't. They ended up signing Bjugstad at 1.75 per. Faksa, we'll go ahead and say it, returned to Dallas on a 3-year, $6 million contract. So that's $2 million per. So clearly the sides were probably close, but for the Blues, it was, we got to try and save some money somewhere. Bjugstad, not quite as good of a face-off man. Obviously, this breaks up the WTF line. But I will say, as someone, for whatever reason, when I saw Nick Bjugstad play his first couple of years in Arizona, I was very impressed. I felt, man, this kid he's not the quickest, he's not the most elite of foot, but he's got great hands. He's a big body, 6'5", and just a guy that you can put out on your PK and you can trust out there to make the right play. Again, we're not talking about a guy who's going to step in on your second line or anything like that. But for me, if you're going to lose Radek Faksa, I like this replacement personally. I think he's got a little bit more of an offensive upside than Faksa too. Obviously, the Blues are losing, I think, a little bit in a checking. But outside of that, I'm a big fan of this. What are your guys' thoughts? Go ahead, Mike.
Well, you, at the very least, still get another acronym possibility here of the BTW line. So let's at least throw that up.
That's not as lethal, but I guess I'll take it.
Hey, if they're just coming in just like, oh, hey, by the way, and here's a goal. So
that's like the nice Canadian way of forechecking. Like, oh, by the way, I'm over here.
Right. Yeah, I like this move, especially. I mean, analytically, he was looking a lot better defensively here than Faksa. But you're getting another big body, 6'6", about 200 pounds. Like you said, it's a little more inexpensive here than Radek Faksa. I'm of the notion, I mean, you're not that far apart, but from just everything, I mean, and Dallas can ponying up here all that they want to. It seems like he may have wanted to return to Dallas.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against St. Louis. It's not. It just seems like that's where he just wanted to go, and that's no problem here. But as far as Bjugstad goes, he's only one season removed from a 22 goal, 45-point season with the Coyotes. So should the Blues struggle offensively, he's a guy who you could throw out there here on a line and say, hey, just go park your big butt here in front of the net and just see what we can really get here from you. So I love this move. I love the flexibility that it brings. I doubt you see him more than just in a bottom 6 role here with the club. But again, I think it just brings flexibility and options here for Montgomery this coming season.
Bill, there's your replacement for Sundqvist on the second power play unit.
Thank God. As long as they do it right, that's the problem, right? I think Sonny is going to make a really good assistant coach, hopefully very soon. But no, I thought when the news broke about Bjugstad, I'm like, like this is before Pius Suter, and so like if this is all we wind up with, I'm not gonna like it. I like that we brought him in, and when I saw that Faksa got 3 years, I thought that was just too much, like too long for a guy at that point in his career. Um, but I think you're right, Mike, that he wanted to go back. Right, he wanted to go back to Dallas, especially. It didn't seem like he was a DeBoer guy, and after DeBoer got canned, which shocked me a little bit, but he has a very short shelf life. He'll do you good the first year for sure, but after that, it's downhill. I like the combination of what they got between Bjugstad and Suter. I'll say my last thought on Bjugstad is we are cornering the market on late 80s, early 90s Minnesota hockey names now. Scott Bjugstad played for the North Stars.
That's right.
And
That's right.
Dave Snuggerud played for the Gophers. Right. So we are going after all those names that I remember so well from my childhood. I
Well, there
love
you
it.
go.
You're giving away the strategy here.
Yes. Yes.
And Jordan Leopold is our next assistant coach.
No, I was gonna say it's got to be a Broughton, right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
If they can find a Harold Schneps, that would be beautiful.
Yeah, we do have some arguing going on in the chat, which is quite hilarious. I love when that happens. Keep it coming, boys. Go ahead and drop the myths. Mike M says Sonny in his hands of stone. Yes, I still love Sundqvist. Don't get me wrong, but he has no business being close to a St. Louis Blues power play unit. So anyway,
to his credit, he still, he did score on Hellebuck before Hellebuck returned to form, right? So
that's true. But no, I like this signing. Again, if you're not going to get Faksa, and I agree with you, Mike. I do think this was a situation of Faksa basically playing hardball because he's like, if you pay me enough money, I'll stay. But my preference is to go back to Dallas. And that's just what happened. I mean, he's been there his whole career outside of this 1 year. He seemed pretty happy down there. I know he was him and Max what's his name? Max Steele. I know they were close friends and played on a line together. So I'm sure that this was, an exciting move for him. But yeah, for the Blues, nice consolation prize, I think, in a guy that can step up a little bit more offensively than Faksa, but can still fill in on that last role. Now, you are probably going to have to rely on other guys for face-offs with Faksa out, but Bjugstad's not a slouch. He's somewhere in the 40s. I want to say it was about 46% last year. Not horrible, but you are losing more than you're winning. So, yeah, I do think that, that's the one thing with Faksa that we're really going to miss, but I think people are going to be really impressed by Bjugstad's upside. Kind of like Sundqvist when he first got here. Like, we were all very impressed in 19 when it was just like, okay, wait, who is this guy? We got him in a Ryan Reeves trade. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. So the other name that came to mind when I heard we signed him was like as a comp. At least the first thing that jumped in my mind was Kyle Brodziak, right? Bigger right-handed shooting defensive forward that isn't terrible on draws, but yeah. I think he can contribute. I think he can contribute more than Sundqvist can. And again, nothing against Sonny. He gives everything every night. His body's just breaking down at this point.
And there's nothing against that here, like at all. But you've gotten everything out of him that you can get out of him here at this point in time. And so if he's your 13th forward, great. That's not a big deal. That I feel comfortable throwing him in there every now and then. But like you said, throwing him in like the second power play unit, throwing him in there, here in every single situation, it's not meant to be. And it's just you got to be able to move on, be able to find other replacements. And that's, I think, what Doug Armstrong did.
Speaking of other replacements, the Blues did make another fairly big center signing. This was one that I love, and I'll and I love Bjugstad too, but like this one, we'll get to that. Blues sign, is it Pius or Pius? That's going to be his new, that's going to be, That's going to be his nickname. Pius Suter.
Which I was impressed that the Channel 5 guys learned that quickly.
Good.
Like
that is not how it used to be.
I totally expected Corey Miller to say Pius.
Yeah.
But no,
it does look like Pius, to their credit.
Yeah.
But I mean, you remember Jochen Hecht? How many news guys could not figure out how to say his name?
Hecht.
Yep. Jochen. I heard Jochen Hecht once.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, you're literally phonetically saying his name. Come on. Pius Suter, by the way, is how you say it. 2-year, $8.25 million contract that is a $4.15 million AAV. In 81 games last year with the Canucks, he had 46 points, including 25 goals. He is from Switzerland, for those of you wondering how he spells his name. Obviously, that means not related to Ryan Suter, unless through some kind of weird time travel mix-up or something with the Swiss man. But no, they are not related. And he has played in Chicago, Detroit, and Vancouver. Really kind of found his stride in Vancouver. I thought, from what I've seen, Chicago and Detroit, I thought he played fine there. And just, talking to other fans, they liked him and were kind of upset when he left. And I don't normally say this because we all know fans are fucking insane, right? But to me, I see this and I instantly was like, what are Canucks fans saying? I am yet to find a Canuck fan that is just like, see a Suter. Like, at the very least, I saw some people saying, oh, this means we might go get, I don't know, Ehlers, before he was signed. Like, and it was like, that was like kind of like the passing, oh, okay, I don't really care that he's gone. But like, most people were like, what? Like, why did we not re-sign this guy? So 4.125 million AAV and you couldn't get it done. Like, people were upset. And that tells me this guy is a legit middle six center. Thoughts, guys?
Yeah, so early season, I watched quite a bit of Vancouver's games since they were on late, and I was usually working late. And his name was all over every broadcast that I watched. And we will, Kurt and I, were you? I don't think you went to the crazy collapse game against Vancouver, and he was very.
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, he was very noticeable in that game as well. And he impressed me every time I saw him this year. And when I saw the list of free agents and how deep he was in it, I'm like, yeah, that'd be a good pickup. And I was shocked when I heard that we signed him. So super happy to that we got him. I think that I feel a lot better about our center depth at this point than I did. Like I said, when I first saw, we got Bjugstad, I was like, if that's it, we're in trouble. But the two of them, that's really good signings, I think. I think, we're going to be a very competitive team this year. And that center depth, we still haven't solved the 2C problem. He can fill in there for some games, but they're obviously this year they're going to look at Shen there again for the most part, and then hopefully Dvorsky's ready at some point in the next couple of years. But I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was honestly convinced that they were done, that they just weren't going to dabble in the center market given the price tag of some of these guys. And I would not say that I would have blamed them one bit. But it seems like that they acquired the center depth that they were looking for. It just wasn't that, hey, we're going to really elevate our center game. It just kind of like we're reinforcing the foundation here more than anything, which is fine. It just doesn't move the needle a ton, or at least as much as what I was hoping for. So, Bill, I agree here with you. Like, I don't know if he's going to be the bona fide 2C that they were truly looking for, that he's going to be the 2C here throughout the season. I think you could end up seeing Shen and he, depending on who's hot, who's not, just interchange here on that second line. And that's fine. But he's also coming off of a career high in goals, points, which I think bodes really well for his confidence. But to me, it's also a little worrisome for some regression coming into a new team. He's going to need to get acclimated here to the locker room, to Montgomery's system. So there's a little bit, I think, of leniency that we may have to kind of give that guy. But all I feel to say, to get him for roughly $4 million for a player to be able to play down the middle in a razor thin market, who can be able to play on the power play and very likely on your top penalty kill here as well. I think it's a major win-win while you wait for Dvorsky to be able to come in and eventually take over the 2C role here, hopefully in that time frame. So I think it's again win-win.
Yeah, and I agree. And the thing too, we get again, these comments are just rolling in, so thank you guys for contributing. Yeah, I mean so the thing, okay, let me ask you guys this, and I'll answer first, so you have time to think. I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm trying to think of like a Blues player from the past comparable to a Pius Suter, and there's a couple names I'm sure that are coming to mind for you, and you're cycling through them. But for me, a guy who was like a dude who could kind of do it all, like wasn't the most elite passer, wasn't the most elite skater, wasn't the most elite setup man, but could put up points and, can, skate into the zone with the puck and you're not like, oh God, he's going to lose it. Can fight for, fighting board battles and, can do all those things. And then also very sound defensively, maybe not the best defensive center, but good. And, can kill penalties if you need him to, and is a guy that you're comfortable putting in the faceoff circle in the defensive zone. The name to me that comes to mind is Michael Handzus. And I think that this, again, not exactly the same player, not even from the same country, obviously, but to me, that's the kind of comparable for me is I think this guy, from what I've seen and what I've read, the 8 hours of tape I watched on him, right, Bill? I
right
which
after
I actually could do because he is. Yeah, I was gonna say he is in the NHL, so I could actually do that. But from what I've seen, I would say for Blues fans, maybe of age that can remember a Michael Handzus, that's who I think of, and I think that he was very, very good for the Blues for a while. And hey, maybe he'll have the same result as Handzus. He will end up getting the Blues at Kachuk.
Interesting.
I don't think that happens.
It would have to be.
That would
Brady,
be amazing.
It
would be Brady. Yes. Yep. So I don't know. Does anyone come to mind for either of you?
The hard part is I don't know, and I don't recall if this guy was on the penalty kill, but some of the, for some reason, Jori Lehtera is coming to mind, and I may be way off. But he was the guy who was typecast, I think, too high up in the lineup, playing like the 1C and all that. But to say that this is a middle six type of a center, he can be able to play the penalty kill. He can be able to play the power play. Just don't expect him to be a world beater here at any single one of these. But I felt very confident, with him on the ice and be able to make plays, distribute, and so for whatever reason, it just and maybe because I just keep seeing like what he's doing overseas, and it's reinforcing my thought process here with this. But Lehtera was just the first one to come to mind.
That's a great call, honestly. We give Lehtera a lot of shit on the show, and deservedly so. But it is also because he was kind of shoehorned into a role he did not belong in. He was a third line center at best in the NHL, and because him and Tarasenko were friends, he got put in that role. Not fair to him, but if you're going to play on the rink, you're going to play in the NHL, you're going to get criticized. So yes, slow as molasses, but still a good player.
Yeah, so the comp I'll go with, and I definitely have to hope for a better outcome. Sobotka, right?
That's a good one.
Tenacious on the defensive side of the puck, and we thought he could score a lot more than he did. So that was the one thing from Army's presser that he pointed out. Right, he had a very high shooting percentage last year. We don't expect him to get into the 20 goals every year and shoot 18% every year. But we'll see. Stranger things have happened. I think if he can give us, somewhere in the range of, 15 to 20 goals, that's going to be great. And penalty killing, there's been a lot of chat about how awful we were 6-on-5. I think he should be a guy that gets inserted into those situations. Yeah, I think there's a lot of upside here.
Yep. And we got a couple comparables in the chat as well. We've got a Jim Campbell, a Kyle Brosniak, who's, how about that? He's come up twice already in this show. Tyler Bozak. And then I love this one because he's a friend of the show. He says, this is from Cape Core 72, maybe more of a Bartechko. Another one that St. Louis sportscasters could not pronounce.
Bartechko.
Bartechko. And Divide by Zero says, man, I forgot Michael Hanzus. He had amazing reach. And actually, I should read this one first. He says, you would need a Jeff Tafe to get a Kachuk as well. And then Cape Core adds, and a Ladislav Nagy. How about that? These guys, our audience. That's why we have the smartest Blues fans watching us. And then we've got a couple other ones. Berglund, I loved, so I love that answer as well. Corey Stillman, Craig Conroy, that's a good one. Let's see. Chris Ziegler might be comment of the show. If we're comparing him to Laterra, someone check his bags when he gets here, please. That's
for his
good.
protection. For his protection.
Yes, exactly. Let's see. We've got Craig Conroy's a good comparable. Conroy seems to think people might be Conroy on this one. Vlad Sobotka, the little guy with gumption. Yep, we all remember that nickname. So anyway, big fan of this signing. I thought the Blues knocked it out of the park, and I told Bill and Kurt in our chat that I think this might go down as one of the most underrated signings this offseason. Not Blues, but this offseason. I think in a year they'll be doing the whole like, okay, who were the winners and losers last year? And I really think the Blues will be on the winners because of Bjugstad, but also because of this signing from Suter. I just think that he's what the Blues needed. I like platooning him and Shen at second line center. Obviously, if you get a chance to go out and get a bona fide second line center, you do it. But I think going into the season, the Blues are very comfortable down the middle with what they've picked up this offseason.
Yeah. Speaking of the winners and losers, there was already winners and losers content being pumped out before the Blues made this signing. That's one thing that drives me nuts about the coverage of free agent frenzy right there.
If you're not first, you're last.
That's right. If you're not first, you're last, and there's nothing happening. So let's go ahead and publish.
Oh, hell, Ricky, I was high when I said that. There's second, there's third, hell, there's even fourth.
Half of them are already heading like to their cottages at that point, like when they're writing those articles anyway. So
yep. I almost feel like it's all like a template that they do. Like they build out the template when they're in the office, and then afterwards they'll just come fill out the team names and the player name and maybe even the stats. And it's just like, come on, you guys don't know yet. Like, yeah, maybe, Mitch Marner looks like a great pickup for the Golden Knights. Maybe he goes there and he can't score a goddamn goal for 10 games. Like, guess what? All of a sudden it's the worst signing ever. So things change quickly. Mike, you're a writer, you're in the media. It's like you said, you got to be first, right? You got to be first to market.
Got to be first, like, absolutely.
It's so obnoxious.
I can tell you several times where I've had to completely scrap an article because something just changed like right near the end of when I was almost done with it. Like, well, okay, well, there goes that.
Well, this is a microcosm of that, but like one of my favorite moments, and you might have a situation like this because I know you're in the Blues press box. One of my favorite moments ever was when I was in the box and Lou Korak, our excellent NHL.com writer and also a friend of the show. Lou was, he was writing his game recap. The Blues were getting blown out. It was like 4-1 with like 12 minutes left or something. And the Blues storm back. And then so they're like, it's 4-3 and there's a minute left. And I even hear him, and I'm like a good 10 seats from him. And I hear him just saying like, well, when it was 4-1, he's like, great, my article's already written. I'm good to go. I'll just add in if the Blues score a couple goals or not. Excuse me. And then when they get to 4-3, he kind of throws his arms up and he's just like, it's fine. As long as they don't score again, I'm good. Like, I can just put in a little quick thing about, the Blues try to come back, but it didn't work. Then they tie it with like 30 seconds left. he literally stands up, throws his arm in the air, and he just goes, "Motherfucking Blues." Everyone just started laughing because there's like Blues executives there, and they're like, "Come on, man!" Like it was just absolutely hilarious because we all know as writers why he was so pissed off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have happened, man. That's happened a couple different times here. I mean, again, like luckily it hasn't been too like down that much, but when you think that you've got a good spin on an article, a good take, hearing a good feel for how the game here was going, then you have to completely rewrite the narrative for the entire article itself. I mean, unless you're just doing a period by period breakdown style of an article, you're starting from scratch.
Hey, Mike, I don't know if you know, but nobody reads those.
Nope, not one bit.
Just a hint.
Oh yeah.
Nick Leddy made the news. He was placed on waivers yesterday, and kind of surprisingly, I don't know, a little bit, because I think the team that claimed him is kind of wanting to get to the cap floor. They picked him up. It was the San Jose Sharks. He has 1 year remaining on his 4-year, $16 million contract. That is $4 million average annual value. Blues are now off the hook for the $3 million salary that is actually owed to him, as well as the $4 million cap. So that gets Leddy off the books for the Blues. That freed up some money for them, which is awesome. I know Stillman probably loved that. And after the Mailloux trade, it's crazy to think about where we were. And I know you guys probably have comments about the Leddy removal of the team, but overall, 2 years ago, we were sitting here saying, "Oh my God, the Blues have Parayko, Falk, Krug, Leddy, and Scandella all locked in. Like these guys, we're gonna suck the next couple years." Leddy's gone, Krug's gone, Parayko is playing out of his mind. It is far better than what he's making now. And so the only kind of problem contract you're looking on defense now, to me, is Justin Falk. We can talk about that, but to me, holy shit. I mean, master class. And obviously I know Torrey Krug is an unfortunate situation, but just talking about salary, where this defense is, I mean, master class work by Doug Armstrong to get to this point.
Well, with a little thanks to Mike Greer.
Yes, that's true. Thank you, Mike Greer. Again.
Yeah, a Blues draft pick that never played here. So
true.
Yeah, it's. I was shocked to hear that Leddy was put on waivers. I assumed it was, they were going to buy him out, but then I was, just very pleasantly surprised by the Sharks taking his salary. He's the kind of guy that kind of fits there, right? He can go in and be a veteran guy, serviceable, probably play 60 games for them, maybe more. He's showed still got some, right? He's still got stuff left in the tank. So,
and he's kind of a workhorse. I mean, yes, he was injured last year, but when he was before that, he was on a games played streak. He was playing great. Oh, well, I don't want to say great. For an aging defenseman, he looked good. I just think, again, I think the Blues are shoehorning him in a position that he did not belong. But I mean, and people were even saying this when the Sharks picked him up today. You're getting an excellent skating defenseman. I mean, that's one thing that I will knock Nick Leddy all day when he was with the Blues, but I would have never called into question his skating ability. He is a great skater. So for a team that's maybe looking to be more of a transition team, because maybe you don't have the firepower, this might be an excellent pickup for the Sharks.
Yeah, he's likely going to end up taking Vlasic's spot. More than likely. I mean, this is also a team who got John Klingberg here at the exact same price now that you've got Nick Leddy. I'm kind of surprised that the Blues, he's gonna get claimed here by San Jose. Okay, and that's fine. But I don't know, if you just wanted him, could you not just send a 7th round pick just to secure him? I'm surprised that they just wouldn't even give a 7th round pick Absolutely nothing. They've got one, but regardless, you never want to see a veteran like Nick Leddy, who's played over 1,000 games in the NHL, be placed on waivers like this. Like, just for the actual guy itself, like, you don't want to see that happen. Um, I do understand that this is purely a business move and a numbers move, where they acquired Mailloux, and he and Falk here at this point have arguably become expendable. But Leddy, with 1 year left here on his contract, $4 million left, is I mean, he could have honestly been the same route that Brandon Saad was, where they just mutually agree to terminate the contract. So I'm glad that he's going to find some beachier places, over in San Jose. But I don't know. It's a win-win, I guess, here for Leddy and for the Blues, here at this point, being able to just do. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, just be able to make that even swap here, almost financially. Just be able to bring in Suter and get rid of Leddy's contract then at that point.
Yeah, and I'll say too that I think that there are worse things for a guy who's already won a Stanley Cup to finish his career on the beach in San Jose. Not a bad deal.
Right.
That's where we all want to be one day, right?
Right. He could have been to Winnipeg. Okay.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh man. Although, hey, maybe you get another shot at a cup there, but I don't think so. And then Cape Core asks, Leddy had a no trade, didn't he? I feel like the Blues tried to trade him. Leddy said no, so they put him on waivers, like the Gaudreau thing in New York. I don't know. Maybe it depends on if anyone was actually interested in picking him up in a trade, maybe just to move some salary around. But yes, he did have a no trade, but he did not have a no movement. So the Blues were able to put him on waivers, which is the loophole in a no trade. That's why Armstrong did not want to give Pietrangelo a no movement clause, because that means you literally cannot get rid of the guy.
Yeah.
He becomes like Newman at some point. Like, God, just leave me alone, Alex. Jesus. By the way, that's something not in the notes, so I'll mention it here real quick. Sucky news about Alex Pietrangelo. Career may be over, but for now, we just know he's taking the season off. I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, we'll see him in the playoffs." I don't think that's the situation. He's not that type of guy.
Right, and the NHL's shutting that shit down anyway. So it sounds like a true, like, multiple major surgeries, and he'll have to reevaluate in a year if he wants to play. So very
quality of life thing.
Yeah, and look at Torrey Krug, right? It's his crazy arthritis in the ankle, right? And if he wanted to walk, he could probably play some hockey, but not if he wanted to walk in 10 years. So I think these guys are smart making these decisions, and hopefully it doesn't hamper their quality of life in the future.
Yep, agree.
It's kind of ironic here, by the way, that you don't re-sign Alex Pietrangelo, but you go get Torrey Krug, but yet both of them are done at the same time.
Yeah,
that's wow. Yeah, that's within a season, basically, right? Like, that's crazy. Wow. Yeah. Good call. Whew. Anyway, let's move on. So still talking about defensemen here. Very quickly, we'll touch on Bowen Byram is a name that's still getting tossed around as a potential trade partner with the Buffalo Sabres. Our friend, again, friend of the show, Jeremy Rutherford, says the Blues have been, quote, trying hard to get Bowen Byram from Buffalo, according to a league source. There's still a possibility that Byram gets an offer sheet. And then he did clarify later that the Blues, I don't believe, would have the draft picks for an offer sheet. He was basically saying that another team could offer sheet, which to the Sabres, they might be like, we'd rather just trade him and get something for him. So, as opposed to draft picks. So we will see. But the fourth period also stated that Byram is seeking a long-term, upwards of $9 million deal, which is nuts. But I get it. If the market's there, go for it, baby. So Bowen Byram, interesting that the Blues might be picking up another defenseman, completely revamping that defense.
This is going to be, so I've said, and if some people have followed me, I've said this is the summer of overpayment and sticker shock. maybe not so much overpayment because of the rising cap. And so in a couple of years, $9 million may have the same impact as 6 here now, 5.5. I mean, who knows like what the market's going to really look at. If Ivan Provorov is worth $8.5 million, then Bowen Byram's worth at least 8, at least. I don't know if that's the amount of money that I want to invest into Bowen Byram here for me personally, but if it means that you're also moving on from Justin Falk or you're somebody else at that point in time, because even though Bowen Byram's a left-handed defenseman, he primarily over the last 2 years has played on the right side. So this is a guy who can play on the left, but again, you primarily see him on that right-hand side. So if you can somehow be able to package up a Justin Falk, but then what does that mean for Adam Yurchak? He's still got some time, and there's still a lot of question marks here on his sustainable health. So do they potentially try to be able to package up Yurchak here as well in that deal? Buffalo is rumored to be wanting NHL players right now. They are not wanting futures. They're done trying to play the futures game. But it just depends. I mean, yeah, it says it. Boehm has crazy potential, and it can this future top 4 could be crazy good. I don't know if the Blues truly have the horses here in it. I was talking with a couple friends here of mine in a different Blues podcast. So if you don't mind me, be able to just plug another podcast here as well.
Of course. Yeah, no, go ahead. We are all about collaboration on this show.
Absolutely.
We think podcasts should work together because we all want to give good coverage to Blues fans.
Absolutely. The guys over at the 5 Minute Major podcast, good guys. One of them actually said, well, what if the Blues were to take part in a 3-team trade where the Blues ultimately get Byram, but the Blues then send out a couple of picks and prospects that we can be able to deal from an area here of strength from, and then Team C also sends over some NHLers here as well. So I think it's a situation you could find that could work. It's unlikely that happens, but it's something that could end up happening here as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of an ambiguous trade, right. Because you get, what round, how many, what year. Right. I'm all for if you could basically, and I'll say what Kurt always says pretty much every show. If the trade makes your team better now and in the future, I'm all for it. And so if that means we're losing draft picks next season or 2 seasons from now, like your top picks, but you're going to be challenging for a cup for 5 years, I think that's worth it, So right. Depending on what the trade is, I'm down for it. I'm all for it. And if it gets us a better defense and a young defense that you can hold on to for a while, that is very valuable. Bill, any thoughts?
It doesn't feel like a good fit to me. Like he kind of, it was a bit of the numbers game why Colorado didn't hang on to him. But I just, I don't like the, I've gotten, as I've gotten older, I want right D, left D. I hated last year how many turnovers between Suter or Tucker playing their offside. I don't like that. Maybe Byram's a special case that he could pull it off, but I don't know. Right now, it doesn't feel like it fits. But yeah, say you package a the Falk. I think you got to give one of the good young forwards as well, and Tyler Tucker. Maybe they do it right, and then there's room. But I just it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Looks like the Baked Beaver agrees with you. He says, thank you, Bill. And for those that are not in the know, Baked Beaver, a good friend of ours, he is actually in the Colorado area, watches a lot of Colorado Avalanche games. So he's clearly seen Byram play. So he seems like he agrees with you, Bill, that he would not be a good fit here. So You must know something, because a guy who watches the Avalanche agrees. And we all know Avalanche fans are the smartest people in the world. So that's a shot, by the way. Also, Bill, do you know another left-handed defenseman who plays the right side? He may or may not be on this show. He may or may not be talking right now.
Oh, you said defenseman. That's what threw me off. That's what threw me off. Yeah.
Bender.
Yeah.
No, I will say that I have people that ask me all the time when they find out that I'm a lefty playing the right side, why do you prefer the right? And I know it sounds weird, but I like going into the boards on my backhand. I don't know why that is. I've just always preferred it. So that way, when the puck comes in, I know I can rim it around the boards, or if I have time, I can spin and I can put it up the other side. I'm just more comfortable that way. It's very weird. I know.
It's good on the power play, which, right, you get the one-timer, but
yep,
that doesn't happen a lot in force hockey. So
that's true. Yes. And I'm pretty sure my last one-timer attempt ended up with the puck in the corner and me on my face. So, yeah, that's very true.
Patrick Berglund style.
Yes. All right. So this is a big reason I wanted Mike to come on and join us. And I know it's late. I apologize, Mike. But the Blues at the NHL draft for 2025. First of all, Nikki Glazer announced the first pick. Before we get into picks, I do want to ask, Mike, you were in attendance as a media member. So, for those that are, well, you probably all realize that back in the day, and yes, Bill, I used to be in the media. We used to travel the media members to the venue, and so that way we could cover the thing. And Mike, let me ask you very quickly, have you ever traveled for a draft before?
No, I've never actually had the benefit of traveling for it. So the furthest now I've traveled for it here was the Enterprise Center. So
as a media member, it is like it's such a good place to connect. It's a great place to like just grab like random people for interviews. Like I can't tell you how many times Brendan Shanahan walked right in front of me, and I'm just like, I could just grab him right now and see if he could do an interview. Like it's just so open. The media is on the same floor. Like it's incredible. So, but anyway, that's beside the point. So yeah, I've been to those, and it's a great atmosphere for everyone involved. But you, again, had to just go to Enterprise Center, and it was a virtual draft. So what was that experience like for you?
Well, I will say first off, no, I did not get to meet Nikki Glazer. So, I'll temper the expectations right there. The Blues did it well. I think that, they had season ticket holders and some other schmoozers that they can be able to kind of throw out there, corporate sponsors and whatnot that were all there, be able to just watch it here on the ground level. So it was neat to be able to see them be able to do that. But media members were all able to kind of huddle up in here in a room, watch the draft, really just be able to just collaborate here together and just be able to see, okay, well, what do you think? Like we're all just crossing off our list here as far as like who that we're thinking is going to be able to make it. And then by the time that the Blues come up here to be able to draft, everybody's just watching, okay, which feed here is going to come up first, which one's going to do that. So it was still a fun experience, regardless if it was virtual here or not.
Were you in the media room for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That's what I figured. Okay. Yeah. So again, like when you're at the draft, it is like, and I'm even talking like people just attending. It was just incredible. Like you'd be 5 feet from Wayne Gretzky standing in front of you, and it's like, holy shit! Like it's just great. Like you could yell and he'd hear you. So this was just a weird situation, and I know a lot of people have said overall, this might be just a thing the NHL tried and that they're never going to do it again. Did you get the sense from being there that other people kind of felt the same way, or did you got to be like, oh man, people are loving this?
There are two different schools of thought here on this. I mean, obviously, but fans did not like it at all. It was getting bashed left and right. It was not pretty watching. But I think you're starting to hear a lot more positives come from the teams themselves, because they just get to talk all that they want. They're in their own little war room. They can be able to just do their own thing when they're in their own respective spaces. I just did not care for the fact that you didn't have anybody else that was there. So maybe there's a hybrid between the two. That you still have the general manager and everybody who's able to talk, and maybe they can just set them up like in their own different offices in the building itself or something. But have representatives who are there who can be able to just go up there and take the pictures and whatnot. So anything that can try to help make this a bit smoother, because year one of doing this just was not overly great.
No, Bill, did you watch?
I did, and it was awkward
Yeah.
and too long, right?
Yes.
It could not, 4 hours of that was a little much, and 4
What did
hours
they
of
call
Leah
the
Hextall a little much.
the team cave? Is that what they called it? The thing they walked into to like talk to their team?
I thought it was Team Zone, but
Team Zone,
Team
maybe.
Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, oh my God. They, after 2 takes of that, they should have been like, okay, we're done. We're not doing that anymore.
Poor Boston.
Yeah. It felt, well, first of all, and I said this last week, I just do not like doing, for me, being drafted into the NHL is such a special moment. I mean, you ask guys that played in the 70s, 60s, 50s, or I guess the 50s, but 60s and 70s, they'll tell you one of their biggest hockey memories is the NHL draft when they were picked. And for me, what'd you say, Bill?
I was going to say, during that time, it was always at the same hotel in Montreal.
Yes,
right?
Yes, it was.
And they could kind of do that, right? Back then, when the league was a lot smaller, even up through the 22 team league, you could get away with having that your own conference space at the hotel to do your war room stuff and then still participate, right?
Yep.
So
no, and I just think that it's just such a special moment. And we've seen, you've got the big moments, Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, these guys getting selected, and the big team picture where all the execs are standing around them, because this is a big day for the draft teams too. The scouts and all the guys that put these things together and these rankings. And for me, it's just, I feel like you're taking away from the moment. If you can do it in person, you should. So again, totally understand 2020, get that 100%. Another crazy disaster happens, get that too. But this was a situation where it's do this in person, do it the right way. Yes, I'm sure you're not making money off the draft, but at the same time, it's like what Bill says with NHL Network. It should be free because it's not something you should be worried about making money for. You're just advertising your product. And for me, this is a welcome to the NHL for the kids and their families. And I think that you just got to do it the right way.
Yeah. It's there were fans there, but losing the fan experience, when they have it at different locations, right? It's just a different experience. And I'll share not a firsthand experience, but when the Blues hosted the draft in was it 96, 97?
I thought it was 94. Maybe I'm wrong.
In the mid 90s, we'll just say mid 90s. Several of my friends went there, and like you said, right, there's Wayne Gretzky, there's Mike Keenan, right? And my friend's experience was, hey, there's Mark Crawford. I just pissed next to Mark Crawford, and he didn't wash his hands before he went out to shake all those hands. That was too funny. And you lose that.
Right, by the way, it was 96.
Yeah. So it was first overall pick, Ottawa Senators, defenseman, wasn't Wade Redden. It was the other guy that was
Chris Phillips.
Chris Phillips. That's what it was. It was a bad draft year.
Yes, yes, it was. All right, let's get into Mike. I want to talk to you because, again, when I was back actually reporting on the team, I had draft boards. I had I knew who every first round pick was. That's just not the case anymore. There's just too much hockey, too much going on. So Bill, Kurt, and I are always like, let's just get a draft expert on because we don't know dick. And we're just going to admit that rather than being a Twitter tough guy who's like, I'm pissed off they didn't draft this guy because I read this report and it said he would have been great for the Blues. Like, pump your brakes, dude. That's not who we are. So we wanted to bring you on so we could talk a little bit about because I know you know this stuff. You probably haven't been to see them play, but I know you've done enough research to where I can trust your opinion. So first of all, Blues 19th pick, Justin Carbonneau, forward. He was with the oh god, I hate when I have to pronounce this team. The Blainville. Yeah, I know she did. She was great, by the way. I was very proud of her. Blainville Boisbriand.
Boisbriand.
Yes, Armada, and led the team, ranking second in the QMJHL overall with 89 points. What are your thoughts on this pick? And was it kind of a consensus? This is who the Blues have to take.
So I'm going to go on record that I was convinced that they were going to go with a right D. I originally wanted Kashawn Aitchison, who went 2 picks before that to the Islanders, and I thought that they were going to go with Logan Hensler out of Wisconsin. When that didn't happen, and they said Justin Carbonneau, I said, "Oh, okay, well, that's a pick. Okay, I see this." This kid, especially getting to see him the last couple of days here at training camp, this kid has been as advertised. And yes, the draft was the weird. It was weird watch. It was weird watching. Yes, fans may have seen that. Like it's already going around Twitter. You know, the Blues are posting it. He made this play at camp, stealing the puck away here in the neutral zone. I mean, just reverse hit that just gave me memories flashing back of TJ Oshie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my mind is going towards. That this guy just reminds me of TJ Oshie. He reverse hit, steals the puck away here in the neutral zone, takes it down ice, and just backhands it here into the net. What they didn't show, and I think it was DeFranks who posted this up here, was made a skating 360-degree turn and then just potted the goal in here. 2 minutes later. So, I mean, this guy is a razzle-dazzle who does not mind running some people over here as well. But if you're looking just purely on upside in this draft, he might have been top 5. Just top 5 offensive abilities. I love his skating, really, really smooth in his crossovers, excellent puck control. He's the player who, from what I've seen, can make multiple plays here through the zone, weave through defenders, cut hard through the middle of the ice. He's just not had a goal here between the legs here too. Yeah. Unfortunately, this was the only day I was not able to make it. Being able to take vacation here this week, my 3 kiddos were like, "Daddy, can you please be able to stay here with us one day and not go to hockey?" So I said, "Yes, like I will stay." And so we played plenty of outside activities and crazy eights and all kinds of. So it was just a good family day here today. But this is a guy. He's not going to be your traditional power forward, but he can be able to hit, retrieve pucks. He can be able to protect them here against the wall and just go straight to the net. So, I mean, this is a kid who just seems hungry and ready to be able to play here in the top 6. And I think that he's got legit top 6, if not top line potential here with him that the Blues were able to get at 19.
That's fantastic. Good to hear it. First of all, Ken Morris says he is going bed. Mike Meyer, I'm not sure if how much you listen to the show. Well, let's just say you listen every week. You don't miss an episode. Yeah. Ken Morris is a good friend of ours up in Saskatoon, right, Bill?
No.
Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia.
It's right. 1 a.m. where Ken is. So
yeah. He's a big Blues fan.
Well past our bedtime.
Retired.
Right? It's past my bedtime. Let's be real.
I would love to say it's past my bedtime. I'm insane. I stay up late all night. Kurt does too. There's times I'll text Kurt at like 2 and I'll be like, "Oh, he'll get back to you tomorrow." No, instant response. And I'm like, "Oh, Jesus, Kurt, go to bed." But anyway, no. So yeah, and that is everything I've heard sounds right. I know someone that you know very well, Tom Welch, does a show over at. Oh, good lord, I'm drawing a blank here. If you're a Blues fan on Twitter, you know who Tom Welch is. Sorry, Tom. But I know he has been saying that he thinks Carbonneau could make the team out of camp, which I do find hard to believe with the Blues' talent on the wings coming through right now. But apparently that's how impressive this kid's been. So that's always good to hear.
Yeah. Could he? Maybe. I mean, like in limited fourth line role, maybe again as like that 13th kind of a guy. I'd like to be able to see him up against more than just prospects.
Yeah.
This was not the most overly impressive roster that we got to be able to see here at a development camp, with it also being a bit smaller. But this is a guy who I still want to be able to see go to the NCAA, because that's where he's rumored to go here next season. Play against guys roughly around his own age, his own size, just continue to be able to work on his defensive abilities. You know, that's the thing that I believe that he needs to be able to just to be able to do, because when he's on, he's on. You know, he's a line driver, and just look out, because he just controls the entire game. But there are times where from what it seemed like, he was maybe either getting in his own head here a little bit, or just when things just like weren't really going as well. Then it would just, he would make some turnovers, and okay, well, that really wasn't the best of play. And so he just has to kind of polish up some things and just kind of round out his two-way ability, be able to just increase his confidence here a little bit. But I have no doubt he could make an NHL squad this season, but I think for the better of his long-term career, he spends the next year, maybe even two, like in the NCAA.
Okay. Yep. That's kind of what I figured too. So moving on. So again, the Blues did not they didn't have any picks in the second, third, or fourth rounds, as well as the seventh round, just all tied up in different trades. And again, I think the Blues, we heard about it at the end of the season in Doug Armstrong's press conference. They are no longer on the retool. They are officially a team that is looking to make the playoffs every year from now on. So knowing that, I think it's totally cool to only have 3 draft picks. So in the 5th round, in the 147th overall, they take the forward Mikhail Fyodorov.
Close
right?
enough.
Okay,
Close
cool.
enough.
And then in round 6, they in 179th overall, it did take a goalie, and it looks like Love, but I believe it's pronounced Louv. Is that correct?
I've heard Louv and Louve.
Louve. I'm going to go with Louve. That sounds cooler. Louve Herenstam in goal. So he's at 179. What do you know of these two players?
First off, the hair on Fedorov here, and I'm going to pronounce his name 3 to 4 different ways. So the hair on this kid looked like he was trying to smuggle a Wookiee under his helmet.
Nice.
It was just like, what is happening? He looked fine in camp. I mean, nothing mind blowing. There's a few good shot attempts here that he liked. A bit quick here through some of the different skating drills, but certainly has some work here ahead of him. I love the fact that he was playing in the MHL here, the Russian, essentially the equivalent to the juniors here in Russia. He got time in the VHL, the AHL equivalent. And then he also got time here in the KHL here as an 18-year-old. Louve, there you go.
I wouldn't trust Matt MLO 12 though. I don't take his word as gospel, for God's sake.
He's probably saying lovey.
Lovey. And well, there you go. Cape Core. I don't know Cape Core very well, so we'll just say Cape Core. He says Louve is what I've heard. I'm going to give the credit to Cape Core. He's way more trustworthy.
There you go.
I'm kidding, Matt. You're awesome. But sorry, continue, Mike.
No, you're good. You're good. We got to be able to get the pronunciations here correctly. But as far as a 5th round flyer goes, a very promising under 20 prospect here in the Russian hockey system. He's got the potential to be able to score 30 goals next year here in the MHL. It just depends on how much time that they want to continue to be able to put him in that junior level, if they want to try and push him towards that middle tier here throughout half the season here or not. I think he's got a really hard wrist shot, especially on the power play here on the half wall. He does seem to find good space here offensively here at 5-on-5, again, just through the video that I'm able to find here from the Russian leagues. looked pretty good here at 3-on-3, but again, that's a ton of open ice that he's been able to play. He just needs to just continue to be able to build up some strength. Get him a steak sandwich or two because he's about a $150. But yeah, I think 5'10" and a $150 or just under 160 here or so.
Bill, when was the last time you saw 150?
Sophomore year.
Yeah, I was gonna say it might be sophomore year for me as well.
There you go. There you go. So, but yeah, this is a kid. I don't mind, taking a 5th-round flyer here on a guy who's got some offensive abilities, and just to see what we've got. We've hit pretty well here on some of these Russian prospects late, and some of them seem like they're really panning out. So we'll see what happens here with them.
Awesome. So, and I'll go ahead and say this too. With us having Mike on, if you guys are still watching live, feel free to throw in any questions for Mike, since he did attend. It sounds like 3 days of prospect camp, development
3
camp?
days of prospect camp. Yep.
So divide by 0. He asked, "How did I believe is it Ralph? It's Ralph A, right? Or Ralph A?
Ralph. Yep.
Ralph.
Colin
How
Ralph.
did Colin Ralph? Jesus, yeah. Where's there an E on there? Get out of here."
He looked good. I spent the first day watching the defenseman. Second day is whenever we had to go live. We got to go live. I say have to. Here talking about the Bolduc Mailloux trade. Third day I spent watching the forwards. So Ralph looked good here on day one. He really stood out here to me. I'm very interested to see what the move here from St. Cloud to Michigan's going to look like. But we'll be able to see. I thought between Ralph, Fisher, and Lindstein were 3 of my top picks that were out there. Juracek here was like an honorary 4th. There's still some stuff that I think he needs to be able to continue working on. But Ralph definitely looked really good, really sharp. And again, this is also a little bit tougher because they're changing up the way that development camp here is going to more of a skills-based analytic view, as opposed to a lot of scrimmaging, head-to-head battles and drills. You did get to see the 3-on-3, but again, you have to just kind of do a microscopic look to see how they're just doing through drills, as they're doing a lot of them just one-on-one. So
yeah, I'll say I was always surprised when I went to development camp, and even honestly training camp to a certain extent, where it's like they would just kind of do like drills, and they do like board battles, and they do like net front stuff, and then they just go straight to scrimmage for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, how much are you really? I mean, I get that scrimmage is real time. You're seeing how players react to certain plays, but like to me, I'm like, man, you need to like go in depth into these moments and like see them in a board battle. Like, you are not coming out of this unless you have the puck, kind of thing. Like, I want to see that in a microscopic view. That always kind of surprised me. So I'm actually happy to hear they're kind of changing their approach.
Yeah, I really like this, and I think it was Tim Taylor who was saying, these guys have coaches all year long. We see film here on these guys all year long, outside of maybe like some of the Russians. They talk a ton here with them all season long, and so they wanted to see year over year what these guys are doing, skill based. How are you guys progressing? How are you progressing here with your edge work? How are you progressing with your shot, your ability here in front of the net? That's the stuff that they want to be able to see, because again, I mean, a guy could be able to have a bad camp, and then all of a sudden that's putting a really bad taste in your mouth just because they may have not had the best scrimmage against the guy. So I'm liking this direction that they're going.
Matt Emelo 12. Yes, he says nothing says untrustworthy like those blonde tips. Yes, I agree with you, Matt. Very untrustworthy guy over here. He also asked about Pekarchik and Stancil. Had you noticed them at all in the
Stancil looked great. He scored several goals here on 3-on-3. I think he averaged at least 1 to 2 here every single day whenever they were doing the 3-on-3. Pekarchik has such good hands, man. I love watching this guy. Between he and Thomas Mercick, those are 2 of my most favorite prospects that are coming up here through this system. Just the offensive awareness I think that Pekarchik has. He made several moves here at 3-on-3 that set up either a goal or holy smokes, I can't believe he just saved that. They came that close. that I don't think that the defenders caught on to. So I'm very, very interested to see if, in the event that Dvorsky does not make camp and does not make the NHL roster here next year, I think you could see a reunited Pekarchik and Dvorsky here in the AHL next year, with Pekarchik turning pro.
I was going to say, some of the stuff that I've seen from Pekarchik has been phenomenal. Like stuff that we're so excited about, like Dvorsky and some of these other prospects, Lindstein. It's like you almost forget about him. And from what I've seen, he looks phenomenal. I'm very excited to see him in North America.
He could be your third pairing left side defenseman here in just another season. But again, that's where now you've got Fowler, Broberg, you've got Tyler Tucker here as well. So like you have to figure out, like, where does Lindstein fit into all of this?
Yep.
Here itself. Yep. So it's a very interesting puzzle pieces that are going to be moving forward. And obviously you can't forget about Otto Stenberg here as well.
No, that's true. He had a really good juniors. I loved watching him play.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, we had around the NHL. We'll go through this kind of rapid fire, and if you guys have anything you want to add or any other signings you want to talk about, Sam Bennett. So the Panthers, holy shit, they lock up Bennett, Ekblad, and Marchand. 3 guys they did not think they were going to get. One of my favorite posts of Free Agent Frenzy was somebody who posted when Vanacek was picked up by Seattle, Utah, right? Utah.
Yeah.
When he was picked up, they said, "Oh my God, someone actually pried someone away from South Florida." It was like, yeah, because like nobody thought they'd be signing all 3 of those guys, and somehow they were able to pull it off. Very impressive. We've also got Golden Knights with Mitch Marner. We mentioned that. A couple of these I'm just mentioning because this is a Blues podcast. The New Jersey Devils brought back Jake Allen at a 5-year deal for $9 million. That is a $1.8 million cap hit. The rumor was he was going to go to free agency, but he was one of those guys that locked up pretty much in the 11th hour.
Yeah, and that was probably my favorite moment of Free Agent Frenzy, was watching Martin Biron and Noodles McLennan lose their shit over him taking $1.8 million in such a thin goalie market. And then, like, the rest of the day, Gino Reda is trying to push the Leafs got to trade Joe Wall now because think of what they could get. There are no goalies out there.
Yeah, but then you don't have a goalie.
Yeah, they consider him 1B to Stolars now.
That's true. Yeah, good luck with that, guys. Corey Perry signs with the LA Kings, 1 year, $2 million. So I think it's pretty much locked in now, right? That the Los Angeles Kings will be the losers of the Stanley Cup in the Stanley Cup final in 2026.
Congrats,
guaranteed.
Congrats.
Yep. Here's a name: the Montreal Canadiens. Bill brought in Sammy Blais on a 1 year, $775,000 contract. Gonna play in the AHL. That's where he was last year. I think it was with Vancouver's farm team. But I saw his name and I'm like, Stanley Cup champion Sammy Blais. We got to mention him on the show.
Yeah, and the one game in my life I've been to in Montreal was early on in his career with the Blues when he was still wearing 64. And there were a ton of Sammy Blais jerseys walking around Bell Center that night. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I do wonder if they'll bring him up for, a little bit more, just because, like, yeah, I mean, that's where he played juniors too, right? And his whole family lives there, I'm pretty sure. Like, yeah. I think he'll get his chance.
Yeah, I want to say he played his junior in Laval.
That sounds right. So then the Mammoth, the newest named team in the NHL and newest team, Scott Perunovich gets another chance, 1 year, $775,000. I was happy to see him get another shot. I would love to see him do well in Utah, but man, I got to say, I think at this point, Scott Perunovich, you might be an AHL defenseman.
Yeah. Yeah. Fast track to coaching. I don't know. There's something about his personality. He seems way too introverted to be successful in the NHL. Like every interview he gave was so like he's the awkward, quiet guy.
Mike, did you get that sense? You probably interviewed him, right?
Yeah, he was he was a fine interview, but it's nothing like really more than just straightforward answers. Like it very nice guy, but I agree here with that was that he was just pretty straightforward. Didn't really want to go too terribly much into stuff, but a little bit more introverted. Not a bad thing, but
yeah. I mean, but if you can back up that kind of thing with like a really awesome hockey play, no one gives a shit. But if you're not really killing it on the rink, then maybe that's something that people notice a little bit more. Like maybe Bill would have never given a shit before if Perunovich was putting up 60 points.
I don't think he would have left St. Louis if that was the case.
That's true. That is very true.
Right.
And we would have been very pissed if he would have been traded.
if he would have earned the trust of Craig Berube after he ran the power play, because like he was power play quarterback that the Blues have been missing in that Avs series. They just couldn't trust him on the other side of the puck, which is the most important side of the puck for a defenseman, right? So
yep. So we mentioned kind of earlier, the Sharks did sign John Klingberg to a 1-year, $4 million contract. So they pick up some veteran defensemen there in Klingberg and Leddy. And quite honestly, guys, they still have skating legs and can move. So should be a little bit more mobile defense for the San Jose Sharks this year. The Anaheim Ducks did sign a player that I know a lot of Blues fans were hoping the Blues would pick up, Mikael Granlund, at 3 years, $21 million for a $7 million cap hit. I don't know how you guys feel. $7 million for Mikael Granlund. I am happy that he did not sign here in St. Louis.
Yeah, I think that's like the Ducks aren't going to be much of a team, and I don't know, like that. I think the term had to be there too, right? The $3 million, like I don't know. I made a joke to somebody about when the Blues didn't sign him, like, oh, he went to the Ducks, he'll be available at the deadline, but with that 3-year term, he'll be there for 2 years probably.
Cool. Mike, we're gonna go ahead and close you out because you're done. No, I'm kidding. Mike's gonna take a quick little break, but we will continue. I've got to fix things because Bill doesn't know how to fix shit.
I don't have credentials to fix shit. You don't trust me. I'm like Scott Perunovich on the defensive side of the puck. You don't trust me with
it. Bill Day is the Scott Perunovich of Let's Go Blues Radio. There you go. You're here, folks. So the Avalanche bring in Brent Burns at a 1-year, $4 million contract. So I think he's going for his cup. So we'll see how he does. And the Hurricane. Go ahead.
Avalanche, Sasquatch, it all works.
Yep, that's true. It is true. There's some real good branding ideas there for the Avalanche this year. So hopefully they take advantage of that. And his former team, Brent Burns' former team, the Carolina Hurricanes, did sign today, just a couple hours ago, as we record on Thursday, July 3rd. Nikolai Ehlers did sign a 6-year deal with the Carolina Hurricanes at $51 deal. It's late, folks. $61 million, and his cap hit is at $8.5 million. So a lot of thoughts that he was going to come back to Winnipeg, but ends up going to Carolina, and they may have missed out on Rantanen, but they did just pick up Ehlers without moving an asset.
Yeah, how they're still gonna be third best in that division, and they haven't beaten the Panthers in a single like one game, right? They've beaten them one game. Just it's rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Yes, it
Carolina.
is. Yes, it is. Let's see. Yeah, divide by zero. Agree with you here. That to me is the real story around the NHL. The Panthers kept the gang together. Yeah, they've lost a couple, I'd say, minor pieces. Again, Vanacek was one of them. Nate Schmidt was another one. But yeah, they kept the team together, which is very hard to do with that high-powered offense they had. Let's see. Okay, lots of talks here, guys. This has been great. We've got a lot of chatter going all show. Love that. And we are over 2 hours, folks. This has been a long show. Mike is probably going to literally just sit back in his chair and fall asleep for 8 hours. Bill, I know you do that every night anyway. So but thank you for hanging out with us
today. I'd be going back to work right now, but no,
that's true.
If I didn't have 3 kiddos, I would be doing that, but I'll probably be up in a couple hours doing something. So,
oh God, I'm so sorry. We're the worst. Mike, this is Mike's last appearance on Let's Go Blues Radio. Mike, thank you very much for coming on. Loved having some hockey talk with you. I'll leave you, give you a minute here to if you have any closing thoughts about the summer. And then also I want you again to tell our audience where they can find your work and how they can interact with you on social media.
Yeah, thanks. This is always a true treat just to be able to be on here, talk hockey here with you guys. I've loved the moves here so far that the Blues have been able to make. I'm glad that we avoided the Mikael Granlund contract because, the term is fine here with me. That's what I projected that he was going to get. The salary was not. So I'm glad that we avoided that mess. All in all, I'm excited here. I think that the Blues have gotten a little bit better, that they've shored up some different spots here throughout the roster and reaffirmed, some of their presence here offensively, gotten a little bit better here defensively, at least on paper. So we'll see what happens here with it. And then, of course, locking up Joel Hofer, just give us more of a boost here in net. So I'm very excited and interested to see what's going to happen here going into next season. If anybody here is interested and wants to be able to find out here more of my work, again, great cast here of folks here over at STL Sports Central, where you can be able to find live YouTube feeds here all the time, be able to join us here in the chat here as well. Find my written work here over on our website, STL Sports Central, where you can be able to find anything and everything regarding St. Louis sports. You'll find an article from me at least every other day, if not every single day, depending on what's going on. And then again, if you're interested in prospect talk, feel free to be able to hop on over to Substack. Blue Notes Rising is where you can be able to find all of my work here surrounding the Blues prospects.
Mike, I do have one closing question for you.
Yeah.
If you were not writing about hockey, what would you be writing about?
Oh, man. Maybe baseball.
Okay.
Maybe baseball. I was not as large of a fan of baseball as like what I am now going into my marriage 10 years ago. But she's gotten me a bit more and more here into baseball. And I think, past her a little bit more and more here as years kind of go by, or as far as how much like in depth that I can be able to go. So I like to say I can at least hold my own in a conversation regarding baseball, but not as like analytical or anything like that. So probably baseball.
Okay, there you go. So that's baseball writer Mike Meyer. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly.
Make sure you check him out over at STL. And it's spelled like that, right? STLsportscentral.com, correct?
Yep.
All right,
Yep,
there you go. All right, awesome. Bill, help me out here. Should I read Matt's last message there? Because that is hilarious, but I can't. I don't know if we should read that one.
No, read his actual last message. That's better. Not
I like
the
that
Marner
too.
one, not the Marner one.
Yeah, I can't read that one. Sorry, Matt, but hey, that does get comment of the show. Congratulations. But we'll call this one comment of the show since we can actually read it. Dragons was the answer we were looking for, Mike. So yes, if you weren't writing about hockey, you'd be writing about dragons.
About dragons, yes. Yep.
How about dragons playing baseball? There you go.
There you go. You like that? There's a team named the Dragons someplace.
There you go. It's got to be, right? We will be back next week, folks. I don't know about a live show, but we will have a show for you. So I did say it's going to be hard for me to commit all summer to weekly shows, but I'm going to do my best, and I am planning on doing something next week. Stay tuned. We've got a lot of fun interviews planned, and I know there's some mystery hockey theater in our future, Bill, and then obviously having guests like Mike on the show to discuss things about the Blues and around the NHL. So that will continue. But Mike, again, thank you for coming on. Bill, thanks for staying awake this time.
Hey, I pulled it off.
Thanks to our amazing sponsor as well, strikewithmike.com, where you can check them out and get yourself a new house here in St. Louis or sell your current one. Strikewithmike.com. That will wrap up episode 35 of season 14 of the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the live show. We'll talk with you next week. For Bill Day, Mike Meyer, and the absent and under investigation. What do we always say? Allegations.
Facing allegations, Kurt Price.
I am Jeff Ponder, and this was Let's Go Blues Radio. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Mike, say whatever you want.
Let's go Blues.
There it is.
The Chiefs are at home tonight against Cyanosport at the War Memorial at 8. Good seats are still available.
A look at fourth.
I think that went very well.
Thank you for listening to Let's Go Blues Radio. Now take off, hosers.
I want you to have a heart attack and die so that we never have to do this shit again.
Well, there's 90 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Sorry.
St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Blues. Have you heard the news about our St. Louis Blues? They've only just begun, they're on their way to number one. Now there's no more blues for our St. Louis Blues. The Blues are on the ice tonight again. They're rough and tough and got the stuff to win. They'll always get one more, no matter what the score. They are quite a hockey team, my friend.